Okay, I'd like to say something about the Muslim Council of Britain, whose leader recently accused the security services here of increasing tensions in society by fostering a negative image of Muslims, which is pretty ironic given that the Muslim Council of Britain itself is probably the most high-profile negative image of Muslims there is in this country, apart from the actual suicide bombers. Of course, there are various ways that you can increase tensions in society, not least people who constantly push for unwarranted religious privilege and who issue lists of demands that would impose Islamic values on every school in Britain. People who refer to themselves as community spokesmen when they actually speak for nobody but themselves and their Wahhabi fundamentalist paymasters in Saudi Arabia, where just last week somebody was actually executed on suspicion of practicing witchcraft. Intolerant misogynists who are given a free platform to insult this country during Remembrance Week by comparing Britain with Nazi Germany in a tasteless and calculated slur, guaranteed and doubtless intended to insult and offend every grieving war widow in the land. They also want a ban on alcohol in public and a more modest dress code for everybody, whether they're Muslims or not, and whether they like it or not. How inclusive, how thoughtful. This organisation, like its American equivalent, CARE, or the Council for American Islamic Relations, is the respectable face of terrorism in the West. The sort of society they'd like to create already exists in Saudi Arabia, where children are raised to hate Jews and to refer to them as vermin and pigs and apes, where young men are so sexually repressed by their religion they spend all their time furiously masturbating over violent internet pornography like a bunch of Catholic priests, and where women have to be invisible in public to avoid being raped. So you can see why we in Britain might be a little hesitant about welcoming these kinds of values into our society. But of course this hasn't prevented our spineless government from pandering to these fanatics at every opportunity, most recently promising state funding for hundreds more Islamic schools, thus encouraging segregation and separation in society and sowing the seeds of conflict for future generations to have to deal with. They might as well be putting lead in the water supply, and they know it. Because it would be easy to blame this on misguided political correctness, but this is actually cynical political opportunism. The truth is, the Muslim vote is just too important to lose in places where the Labour Party needs to win. So, as usual, they're happy to inflict long-term damage to achieve short-term ends. They even gave a knighthood to the previous leader of the Muslim Council of Britain, despite his public pronouncement that death was too good for Salman Rushdie. They gave him a knighthood anyway for the sake of community relations. You know what's good for community relations? People who come to this country and who adapt happily to our way of life. Or if they find that it's not quite to their taste, they piss off and live somewhere else. That's really good for community relations. If you don't like how we do things in Britain, get out. You weren't invited here and you're not wanted here. And please, don't lecture us on moral values. When you can't even bring yourselves to condemn stoning as a punishment, it's clear that yours is the morality of the caveman. And for your information, we do have strong moral values in Britain. We just don't feel the need to enforce them with an iron rod because we're not as insecure as you are, and because we believe people should be free to make their own choices in life and not be dictated to by small-minded medievalists who despise everything this country stands for. And by the way, this has got nothing to do with immigration. Let me make this very clear. I welcome immigration to Britain. I think that, within reason, I think it's a healthy thing for the economy. I think it's a good thing for the country. This is about religion, and only about religion. So, to any white supremacist morons out there who think that they can latch on to this video in the way they've attempted to with some of my previous videos, go and take a piss on a live electric rail, because I'm not your friend. I'm your enemy, and I'm proud to be your enemy, just as I'm proud to be the enemy of every creepy Islamofashist on this planet, because you people are two sides of the same coin, and it's an evil, worthless, poisonous currency that I want nothing to do with. As for the Muslim Council of Britain, If you insist on shoving your religion into people's faces all the time, you shouldn't be surprised to get it shoved right back at you. Because that's how we do things in a free society, and if you don't like that, you know what you can do. The people of Britain know damn well that the reason for tensions in our society is nothing to do with the security services or the police, and everything to do with the activities of people like you, the true enemies of Muslims in this country. Because every time you open your mouths, you make things worse for Muslims. You increase the tension, you increase the resentment, and this is deliberate on your part because you want Muslims to be in conflict with people all the time in an attempt to intimidate us into allowing you to impose your narrow beliefs and your barbaric values on our society. Well, you can whistle up your sawn-off trouser leg for that one, my friend, because it's not going to happen, not now, not ever. And as for accusing us of being like the Nazis, well, that really is pretty rich, when it's clear that if people like you ever did achieve the kind of universal power that you crave, there would be another Holocaust, and everybody knows it. So we in Britain, we're going to carry on living the way we like, regardless of what you think about it. We're going to carry on treating women as human beings and not as possessions. We'll drink alcohol in public if we damn well feel like it, regardless of your sensibilities, and we'll walk around dressed any way we choose. And you might as well get used to it, because if you don't, you're going to have a miserable time here, because you're always going to be in conflict. And, well, maybe that is what you want. But I don't think it's what most Muslims want. Because to my mind, if religion has a legitimate purpose, it's not as a vehicle for conquering and subduing people, as you seem to believe, but as a personal means, and I do mean personal, as a personal means of achieving a peaceful heart, which is, I think, its only legitimate purpose. And a religious person who is in constant conflict is clearly not even looking for a peaceful heart, and is therefore abusing their religion, and by extension, abusing the people who follow that religion. The very people you claim to speak for, you liars, you hypocrites, you duplicitous, mealy-mouthed, unprincipled, terrorist-sympathising scum. Thank you for your time. I'd wish you peace, but you wouldn't know what to do with it.